Alrighty, guys, look who is back. After a week absent, we're back as a whole, but also Nick Tazio after a business trip last week. We're back. We're going to be talking about the Toronto Blue Jays today. We're going to be talking about the NBA playoffs a little bit, the NHL playoffs today, and tonight it is the NFL draft. We're going to have to talk about it. We're going to have to discuss it. I'm Daniel Federico. That's Nick Tazio, and this is the Daniel Federico Show. Nick, welcome back. How was your week, brother? You had a good business trip. Just how was it?
Crazy, crazy. I went to, for those of you that don't know, I got to do a broadcasting boot camp at a basketball tournament in Virginia called the Portsmouth Invitational Tournament. And it's the top invitational tournament for NCAA seniors to perform in front of scouts. And it was crazy. The scouts were like literally all set up like a jury. There was like one row, two row, three row, and it was just like all 30 teams had representatives. And the I'll be making an Instagram post. So if you guys follow me, you'll be able to see the video. But every single team that was sitting at a certain spot had the logo right there. But it was crazy. I saw Robbie Avila. I saw some crazy basketball. And then we got to spend some nice time at Philly on the way back. But it's good to be back here on the show talking sports. One of my favorite sporting events of the year, not just just in general, is the NFL draft. And it just so happens to be on the day that this episode comes out. So for show terms, we'll just say today,
Yeah, for show terms, we're going to say today, tonight,
night.
Thursday, April 23rd. The draft, we're recording this on the night before Wednesday, April 22nd. But Nick, I'm glad you had a great week, especially spending time in a little bit of Philly too
It was
after
great.
your trip in Virginia.
I
That's a
went to
great.
Mitchell and Ness, bro. I went to the Mitchell and Ness store. So for all you Jersey lovers out there, yeah, it's like that.
It's it's like that. But yeah, I'm happy we're back talking ball. I was a little sick last week, so there was no episode last week. But it's perfect time because the NFL draft is tonight. But first, we're going to start off because this is the Canadian show. We're going to have to talk about some Canadian sports, and let's talk about Canada's baseball team and the Toronto Blue Jays. The Toronto Blue Jays, as of today on Wednesday, they got absolutely crushed by the Los Angeles Angels, 7-3. But first, let's hear this. Hey, the Toronto Blue Jays, they're known for a slow start. Not a great start every year, a slow start. And here I have the last couple of years, their records in April. So in 2021, their record of April was 12-12. Slow start right there. No cause. Everyone wasn't hitting the panic button right away. But it makes sense. They're a 12-12, a 500 team coming out of April. In 2022, it was a great month for them of April, 14-8 record. 2023, 17-10. See, that's probably their best start, the back-to-back years of 2022 and 2023. 2024, slow, sluggish start, 13-14 record. And then 2025, just last season, and they made that run, that ginormous, fantastic playoff run all the way to the World Series. They started their April 11-14 record. And then as of today, the Toronto Blue Jays record of April is 6-13. They kind of picked it up a little bit over the last two series, winning a couple games, but still not being consistent. The bats seem like they're coming back on fire. Hoffman is sewering this team out of the bullpen. We thought it was a Brandon Little issue, but it was obvious. Oh, it was. Don't get me wrong. It was obviously still a Brandon Little issue coming out of the bullpen, but now it's a Hoffman issue. I think it's overall just a bullpen issue. The bullpen for the Toronto Blue Jays has been off to a slow start. The bats are finally waking up a little bit. We need the bats a little bit more consistent, especially when we're about to go into the month of May right now. But if they can end the month of April on a high note, I think everything's going to be all right, especially when their team is somewhat starting to get better. As I see a lot of players in their rehab starts, they're getting better. Trey Savage had a rehab stint 2 days ago or yesterday. He did not prevail in that rehab stint. So you're going to see him playing for the Buffalo Bisons probably for a couple more weeks until he is major league ready. But Nick, what do you think about the Toronto Blue Jays as of start?
Well, they're starting, like you said, it's bad and they're never good in April. But like this year in general, if you look at a lot of like if you look at the standings and you look at who we were talking about or just the media was talking about in general going into the year as like the prime contenders, you're the Dodgers, the Phillies, Yankees, obviously, the Red Sox, like the teams that we thought were going to be World Series contenders going into this year have all started pretty badly. And I want to give credit to The Athletic because I was reading a tremendous article and it was about six teams that were viewed as contenders going into the year and had started slow. And the Blue Jays were on there. And they went through and they analyzed things and obviously the main part of it was injuries. And then they addressed Bo Bichette leaving, but at the very end they said that essentially the Blue Jays are in a different realm as opposed to these other contending teams that are starting off slowly because it's due to injuries. There's no really roster, that's credit to the Athletic because it was a tremendous article. I implore you all to go read it and just subscribe to them in general because it's fantastic. Shout out the Beast, which is what Daniel knows about that. The biggest NFL draft guide of all time, but I digress. The
The
Jays
best,
are
the best NFL draft guide.
the best. It is the best. It is huge, and you literally have to download a PDF version of it. And but it is like, the Jays, they're just so hampered by injuries, and Barger and Kirk, they're obviously out too. They have a lot of positional injuries as opposed to the bullpen, which is just absolutely torn down by them. The only thing is they can't really tweak the roster. They can't go out and sign anyone or make a move like that. All they can do is really hope that these guys rehab and come back quick. And in their absence, the players that are on the field doing what they can to salvage the start to the season, they can only hope that they can play well in their absence as well. And that's good, but it's also scary because it's hope. And hope is a scary thing to rely on because it's not a physical thing. You can't go out and buy hope or trade for hope. A lot of these other teams that are starting off pretty badly right now, it's due to some players that are not performing well that owners and general managers are looking at currently and saying we have to move this guy. Not the Blue Jays. So I think I fall a little bit in the middle. My take is that it's it's obviously what we thought was going to be an issue going into the
Yeah,
year.
you called it right away when we were talking about the season preview that injuries are going to be a cause of concern for the
Yeah.
start of the season, as they were already getting up there in injuries in spring training, and then now you see it how it is reacting right now at the start of end of March. There's just the start of the season in general.
But like
Um,
you said,
as
like Jeff Hoffman blowing three saves, there are little things that aren't necessarily to do with injuries.
And then
Jeff
also Little blowing a lot, like blowing a couple more too.
Yeah.
This team could easily be like in the middle of the pack, but because their bullpen has been such a ginormous issue that it really puts them at, even though they're already injured and they're already at a disadvantage for that, but it puts them in a bigger disadvantage when you can't even trust your bullpen. There is one guy that you can trust out of the bullpen, and he's going to get you some saves, and that's going to be Louis Varlin. Louis, you're dying right now.
Can't talk about the Blue Jays, man. It's just this
And
is
yeah,
like
and they get and they
common
get you
sports.
sick. They got you
Oh,
sick right there. They got you sneezing up a storm. But one guy coming out of the bullpen that they can trust, and he's probably gonna be more of a closer for the next couple of months or a couple of weeks. It's gonna be Louis Varlin, and he had a one. I think he had a one pitch save a couple nights ago. Louis Varland, though, he's been that guy for them that they can depend on every time. Everyone else. and the bullpen, you're kind of holding your breath a little bit. But once this team starts getting healthy, once this team really starts getting in a rhythm, because we've seen when the Toronto Blue Jays get in a rhythm and they are like on a hot streak, it's really hard to take them off their hot streak.
Oh
Because
yeah.
let's be honest, they were probably besides the Dodgers, like obviously it was Dodgers and Blue Jays, the two best teams in the playoffs last year, no matter what, because both of them ended up in the World Series. But maybe the Blue Jays, they had so much. Honestly think the Blue Jays were the better overall playoff team last playoffs just because of how clutch moments they were playing. They call it Blue Jay magic. They had, but it seems like the magic really wore off a little bit for the Toronto Blue Jays, and that is with injuries. And that you're gonna see a lot more. Like Ernie Clement too, a little banged up at times. He's banged up right now. But the good part is about it is you're seeing Vladimir Guerrero Jr. really pick up his bat a little bit, and that's what you need out of your stars. And you know Nathan Lucas is starting to hit some balls pretty deep. Um, so that's what you like to see. But um, Louis Varland coming in usually after Hoffman has been great to see. I think Hoffman. I don't know. Like what I think that I think you just gotta continue. It's such a long season, so I think you have to continue letting guys just pitch out of their rut. As because Hoffman's in a rut right now. He's in a ginormous rut. I listen to all these post-game press conferences that Hoffman's having, and he's like, I don't know why they're hitting off of me. Well, you're pitching slow and you're pitching terribly, and you're not demanding the zone. And Varland, he comes in, he demands his own. Every starting pitcher too, like Eric Lauer too. Like even though he had a stinker today, but he's demanding the zone. Dylan Cease, the starting pitching is not an issue. It's the bullpen and obviously the injuries. But as of right now, for the last couple of weeks, it has been the bullpen as the biggest issue for the Toronto Blue Jays, and they need to address it ASAP. But just let them pitch, man. I think you should let them continue to pitch. Let them pitch out of their rut. What do you think about that?
Well, that's all they can do. Like that's literally the only thing they can do if they're not going to go out and make what they think is going to be a organizationally and financially safe move that is going to be able to change the makeup of, not the makeup, I shouldn't say that, but change the way that this season is going in the absence of so many of our best players. But I just want to reiterate what you said before, because what we were talking about at the beginning of this season were the Jays and their struggles to score runs. We were talking about them going, runless against teams like the Colorado Rockies and then only scoring a couple against the Athletics and the White Sox. Those were just debacles of performances.
And then like
So
a terrible outing against the Dodgers too, like just getting destroyed at home. Like in the
yeah.
rematch of the World Series, that just can't happen. If anything, that is embarrassing.
Oh, it's embarrassing, but like I think like going into that game, like I myself knew that they weren't going to compete with the Dodgers. But to get blown out at home, regardless of what your team looks like, and especially against the team that beat you in arguably the most heartbreaking World Series loss of this century, that is humiliating. And they came in and they stomped you, and you had Sportsnet out there promoting it, like the rematch, this and that. And then they came into the Rogers Center and stomped the Blue Jays. So,
They
although
owned the Rogers Center. They came in and absolutely owned that place right off the first pitch.
oh yeah. So like my closing take, not my closing argument, I'm not a lawyer, is just there is hope. All they can do is hope if they don't want to make a move, and that's a scary thing because they're just so hampered by injuries, and a lot of other teams are as well. But the makeup of the Blue Jays in terms of what is on paper with these roster spots that these players occupy is all messed up because they're just it's just bad. It's just bad right now. I don't know
Yeah,
how else.
it's
It's
just
just
an absolute
really, really
mess.
bad. They need to
It's
the bullpen needs to get better, and Jeff Hoffman needs to get better
yeah.
because he's blown three saves, and I know the season is just starting out, and maybe the AL East, because the AL East as a whole is not performing well. Maybe we take advantage of that. If at some point down the road, let's say we get Atreya Savage, he comes back quicker, and we know he's pitching for the Bisons, he comes back a bit quicker after another couple of games with the Bisons. That might curry some favor in this division. It's small wins that we have to accumulate in this 162 game marathon of a season. So
Yeah, it's a marathon of a season, and we're just in the month of April, the first full month of the season. But I gotta tell you, it's feeling like it's already taken 100 years off of the Toronto Blue Jays fans. But let's move on to some NBA playoffs. We're gonna talk about the Toronto Raptors. The Toronto Raptors are coming back home, down 0-2 to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs, Donovan Mitchell and co. have been on a tear. The Toronto Raptors have no answers for James Harden and Donovan Mitchell. But I got to talk about this. Yes, the Toronto Raptors overall have not played good. Scotty Barnes in game one was a little off. One rebound to a guy that's been averaging 7.5 all season is shocking. Brandon Ingram, playoff BI, looks terrible just 2 games into the series. But if they really want to hold off of, getting swept and especially losing this game three in Toronto, Brandon Ingram is needing to step up. Same with RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett's gonna like I know he's been playing pretty solid, but defensively, he's needing to pick it up, especially when you're playing against, Donovan Mitchell and James Harden and those guys. But everybody on that team is tremendous on the Cavs. But the defense really needs to step it up, and I think they're missing quickly a lot right now. But let's talk about Brennan Ingram for a second here, okay? He went 5 for 9. I think he only had 4 shots in total the second half or something like that. Maybe just the fourth quarter. He went in a press conference at the end of the game and he demanded the ball. He demanded the rock. Okay. He was like, give me the rock. I want the ball more. I want the ball in my hands a lot. And then he goes out the next game, game two, and shoots up a stat line. Let's look at that stat line one more time. He went out and he went out and shot 3 for 15 from the field in 35 minutes of action, finishing with a stat line of 7, 4, and 3. If you are a superstar player and you want to be treated like a superstar player, and don't get me wrong, Bi is a terrific player in the regular season, but right now how it's looking like in the playoffs, if you're going to demand the rock, I demand you to score 20 points a night after you demand for the ball. Don't go and shoot up 3 for 15. They lost the game because this game was close at times because they were lucky. The Cavs bench was very weak in game two. Scotty Barnes can only do so much. You know what I mean? Like he had 26 points. He was doing it all. Bi was jacking up the worst shots I saw in the fourth quarter. It's a fade, if a fade mid range, boink, just an absolute brick. Brennan Ingram though, what do you think about him demanding for the ball, then going to shoot 3 for 15, getting 7 points, and the game two loss against the Cavs? I think it's pretty inexcusable right there.
yeah, it'd be a lot worse or a lot better if this series was 1-1, if the Raptors had managed to get one, and then BI had his little post-game request, should we say, to demand the ball more. But I think it just looks worse on him given the fact that they're getting bullied by the Cavs and the fact that the Cavs are just a better team. Ladies and gentlemen, the Raptors are going to lose this series. And for anybody who is sitting out there or who are, getting excited about the playoffs, the Raptors are in and they're going to see those bright red jerseys in a big setting of slightly more maroonish jerseys in Cleveland. And we were going to go in there and we were going to avenge the horrors of 2016, 2017, 2018 when we kept going to Cleveland.
Going up against LeBronto each year, but no.
Yeah, and then him just coming to take over the six. And ladies and gentlemen, the Raptors are going to lose the series. They're just worse than the Cavs, and they don't have any high-end talent in comparison to the Cavaliers with Donovan Mitchell and James Harden and Evan Mobley. When Donovan Mitchell and James Harden at this current stage in his career combined for 58 points and Evan Mobley gets you 25 off 11 of 13 shooting, that is a pure and clear sign that you are outmatched. And the series,
Simple, simple as that. You're clearly outmatched with Evan Mobley, James Harden, Donovan
did
Mitchell.
you?
Even in the paint against Allen, they're outmatched. They're outmatched across the board. And honestly, I think the Toronto Raptors front office is going to have to take a closer look at how they've played in this series so far. But it's honestly been all season and be like, okay, Scotty's our number one guy. Bi
Scott,
want Brandon Ingram wants to be the number one guy. But when you make a crazy request like that, give me the rock. I want to score some points, and you go out there and score 3 for 15. You can't be the number one guy, and you're going to continue having Scotty Barnes as your number one guy.
yeah, I just think that also Brandon Ingram is never going to be the number one guy in Darko Radakovic's team. Like this guy is, he's a defensive minded coach. Everybody knows that. And Scotty Barnes is a lottery pick that they invested a lot. Actually, is he technically a lottery? I don't know. You know, he was taken sixth out of Florida State, but
But that is
you
a
know,
lottery
like
pick. But with how it
is
all,
that a lottery? Yeah, no, the top 10 is the lottery. So yeah, he's their lottery pick, and he has become one of the league's premier defensive players. He's no Victor Wembanyama because nobody is. Shout out Wemby for winning DPOY and then
Depoy.
horrible instance
Yeah,
last
well,
night.
we'll talk about that instance in a second here.
We'll talk about that, but I think they do need to look at this team and I do think that they need to analyze what components needs to feed into Radakovic's defensive system, offensively speaking, so that they can go out and score points and try to, match up with these teams a bit more on the scoreboard because they can certainly bang in the paint defensively and they can grab rebounds. They got great height and length as well. The other thing that worries me is the fact that Keith Pelly decided to not hire back Masai Ujiri, or at least offer him. So the leadership that I just mentioned should be taking a look at this team going into the offseason is not the same leadership that brought us all that success in the great days of 2018, 2019, and 2020. So that is
But
one
yeah,
definite
yeah,
that we
I
have to
totally agree with you
consider.
on that. I 1,000% agree on you with that.
Yeah, and I think they're gonna lose the series. It's just about they'll grab one at
It's
home.
the
They'll grab
matter of how many games. It's 4 games or is it 5 games? Because I don't see it going longer than
I'll say Cavs
five.
in five, Cavs
Yeah.
in five. Like that's what I'll say. And I'm generally interested in the East because like we have a great series in Boston and Philly. They're tied 1-1. New York and Atlanta, that's a really fun series as well. And Detroit and Orlando, they're playing a pretty mauling defensive battle right now
They're,
that I
they're
was
playing
watching.
right now in the pit. Detroit is up
Detroit's good.
84-62 going in the fourth. Like they're controlling this game and they have a chance to tie it up right here, tie up the series at one.
Yeah, and I think it's just funny with all these other series right now. Detroit, if they do tie up the series, which I think they will,
Yeah, they will.
has something that the Cavs are playing like the most consistent team, even though they are not in, the top two or three teams that finished out the East.
Yeah.
So that's just my thoughts on this series right now. It's just, you know what? Let's just get it over with because I want to watch better basketball.
Yeah, like I was about to say, like I think I texted you. I texted you a couple nights ago. And I go, the
Yeah.
Toronto Well, I think I said NBA in a whole is pretty unwatchable. I was just frustrated. I think the Toronto Raptors are unwatchable. It's just unwatchable, especially in the playoffs. Like the amount of money they have invested in the Toronto Raptors this year with contracts and stuff like that. You think you would want, a little bit more of playoff success this season, but now it's gonna have to hope for next year. Keith Pelly, though, I'm so glad you brought this guy's name up. He's a he's a complete doofus.
He's having a bad year.
Yeah, Keith Pelly is having a bad year. Um,
To say the least, he's having a really bad year.
to say the least, he might actually be having the worst year of all time.
He might be the most hated sports figure, or at least associated with sports in Toronto.
He might be the Yeah, he might be the most hated guy in Toronto.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, like he's saying the Toronto FC rebuild is complete. It's not complete.
No, it's
They don't have defense. Um, I'm just so glad that the Toronto Blue Jays are still owned by by Rogers.
Mm,
So that's a good sign. The Toronto Maple Leafs are in an absolute mess.
I don't
Might
even know
lose.
what you're talking.
Austin Matthews might be out of town, but we're not here to talk that. Keith Pelly is just a doofus. Just wanted to say that. Um, Especially not like the Toronto Tempo. They hired Masai, eh? Did you see that? And
Yeah,
to be honest, I'm pretty pumped up to see how the Toronto Tempo do in their first year in the WNBA.
yeah, it's going to be really interesting.
Especially bringing the Hamilton native in, Kia Nurse.
Yes, and that is definitely something to watch. The WNBA has just exploded in popularity over the last few years.
Yeah,
You
it's gonna
guess
be awesome.
the
It's
Caitlin Clark effect.
yeah, the Caitlin Clark effect. Angel Reese, if she heard that, she might rip you to shreds.
Probably, yeah.
But it is the Caitlin Clark effect because without Caitlin Clark, this league is I honestly don't think is watchable because Caitlin Clark is a terrific basketball player. Excited to see how the Toronto Tempo do year one. But yeah, it's gonna be awesome, and I'm glad we're gonna be talking about the Toronto Tempo here a lot. But let's move on to Victor Wemby concussion protocol. Ate the court yesterday. Looked so scary when he was going down, and he just boom face court meet ya right in the middle, bang smacked right in the mouth, and he was in concussion protocol. That's the only reason why the Trailblazers got to win last night is because Wemby was not on the court. If Wemby played last night, they were winning and they were on their way for a nice little 2-0 series lead. Now it's 1-1 going to Portland. Um, Wemby, what do you I haven't really
Call
looked
me
into
Wemby.
what's up?
I thought you call me Wemby for a
No, I haven't talked
second.
about Wemby. I was to say I haven't done much look into it since. But has there been an update on Wemby? Has he passed concussion protocol? Is he going to be playing on Thursday night or it's Friday night they play? Friday
Yeah,
night.
it's Friday.
Friday night. Is he going to be playing on Friday night?
Nobody on the planet definitively knows. And I've listened to so much sports talk radio today. Because I've been living under a relative mainstream sports rock because of my involvement at this tournament. So I had to do my catch up, and basically Wemby is he's in concussion protocol, and the way that it's working right now is that he can't participate in team activities for 48 hours after the incident.
They're lucky they got an extra day off then. They're lucky.
And then obviously the game is 72 hours away from now, so to speak. And that's more time. After 24 hours after the incident, he is okay to start gradually resuming back at a regular pace with the team if his symptoms had not developed in a worse sense in those 24 hours, but he still cannot fully participate for another 24 hours after the first 24. Basically, this whole thing has shaken up the entirety of the playoff picture. Because if this is worse than what it is, and one thing we have to factor in is these first two games have been in San Antonio, they're going to have to get on a plane and go to Portland. I don't know what his doctors are going to say about him traveling on an airplane for a specific amount of time. You know what I mean? Like
He's
these are
gonna
all things.
he's gonna have to bust to Portland.
Well, just or he just obviously he just won't play.
Yeah,
And
he just won't go.
and concussions are just they vary so much in what stage they are. Like there's obviously those like or state what do you call them stage four, grade four concussions. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
like those are like the worst concussions. You can have a stage one concussion and you could be okay in like 3 days.
Yeah,
But
but
he hit his face and his head really hard, and he could have like I don't know what the symptoms are right now. I don't know what the symptoms he has right now, but I gotta say if he has the slightest a symptom before tip off, he's not playing.
I think that I don't think he's going to play. I think personally, I don't think he's going to
I
be.
think he takes this game off and he plays the next. But I want to be honest with you, like it's going to be a tighter series without Wemby. Because if Wemby's playing, I could have easily, confidently said that Spurs in four. Now it could be Spurs in six until Wemby comes back or something like that. I still think without Wemby, the Spurs will win this series. But Wemby, once he comes back, it's going to solidify it. But I do think Portland is going to take one on their home soil, and it's going to go back to San Antonio 2-2, or hopefully 3-1 for Spurs, but it might be 2-2.
Yeah, well, it's 1-1 right now. So I think the Portland game on Friday, I want to talk about the Trailblazers for a sec because Scoot Henderson has finally started to perform
Yeah,
consistently.
he started to wake up a little bit.
He's
31 points
31.
last game, 11 for
Yeah,
17 from the field.
great performer. 31 points, and he played well in game one as well. For the Spurs, if Wemby does not play, Castle and De'Aaron Fox have got to perform better. They've got to perform better. It's just as simple as that.
They played pretty well when in Wemby's absence, but just not good enough, to close out the game or anything like
They
that.
weren't not like I think Castle, one of them didn't knock down enough of his shots, and it was just like
I'm pretty sure it was Castle. Actually, let me check. I'm pretty sure it was Castle. Yeah. Oh no, it was De'Aaron. What was both of them? De'Aaron Fox went 6 for 16, and Castle did go 7 for 20. Damn. Um, Dang. Maybe they were better on the defensive side because the offensive side stat line looks terrible. But when I was watching the game, it didn't really look like obviously Wemby's absence was the biggest, thing. When you have a guy leave the game injured like Wemby's caliber, everything should be on notice and the team's gonna be shaken up a little bit. But I agree with you, yeah. Fox and Castle are gonna have to wake up a little bit in his absence. Like I think they played pretty solid defensively. Now it's have to translate on the other side of the ball court, and I think they can win this. But if they don't wake up, the Trailblazers and Scoot Henderson and the guys, they could take this series, but it's gonna be a dogfight even without Wemby.
I agree. I agree. I think it's going to be a hard series now, just in general, because we also have to think about if he's going to be the same player that he was in game one,
Yeah, he's
or
a guy that could be playing with headaches for the rest of the series. Like he's
yeah,
it's playoffs. Like he might just lie about his symptoms just to get back on that court. You know what I mean? Like he's the only one that knows his body truthfully.
yeah. And in the broader picture, this definitely makes other teams look at things and they say, well, if Wembanyama, if he can't come back and then Portland is in whatever realm is able to win this series, that drastically changes the playoff picture in the Western Conference. And then we haven't even talked about Minnesota against Denver. Minnesota taking game two and Anthony Edwards turning it on. Denver, of course, is Oklahoma City. We're not even going to talk about them because they're a wagon, and it's just like they're going to beat Phoenix and let's whatever. But the bigger picture in the Western Conference with the Spurs situation with Wembanyama is so interesting to look at. And I guarantee you it's going to be one of the biggest headline topics on so many sports television shows leading up to Friday. Is Wemby going to play? Is Wemby not going to play? That is going to be one of the most foremost topics. Definitely the biggest topic in the NBA up until Friday. I'm not sure about the NFL draft what these programs are going to do with the airtime and whatnot, how they're going to divide it. But Wemby, his absence speaks volumes for the Spurs, and it definitely is noticeable when other players aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I think this is a scary thing. You gotta wonder if it's going to hamper him down the road. Like he hit his face so hard. Like that is a
He,
hard way to hit
he hit
the
his
face.
face so hard. Like I was watching the clip and I went, "Ouch, ouch."
Yeah. So,
And he got up and he ran right to the locker room. So he was like, "Oh my God."
oh yeah. And
I'm lucky if his mouth was open just a little bit, he would have probably broke a tooth.
probably, but to close out this argument, not argument, excuse me, but to close this out, I think that every single pair of eyes in the Spurs fan base, but also just in the wider sports fan base, is going to have their eyes on Wembanyama's status. But more importantly, if he can't go, and I guarantee you they're already planning for this, if he can't go, the Spurs need to devise a way, or Fox and Castle have to find a way to flip the switch on in his absence. Because I guarantee you, going back to Portland, those fans are going to be watching this as well, and it is going to be loud. If
Those fans in Portland are pumped up for some playoff action, so it's going to be loud in that arena on Friday.
And so is Scoot Henderson because Scoot Henderson has been playing consistently so far, and they have a good team. Robert Williams was great as well. Robert Williams was great on the boards. Denya Vija is turning into the player that Washington hoped he was going to be when they took him those years back. So all I know is I'm excited for Friday to see what happens, regardless of whether Wemby's there or not. This just adds another level of intrigue into the whole storyline of this series for me.
It adds another storyline to the playoffs. It's already a stacked playoffs. A lot more to come on the NBA playoffs as the weeks involve or as the month progresses. A lot of great series are going on right now, especially you talked about it a little bit, that Minnesota series, but I want to move on to the NHL playoffs, the chatter. The Philadelphia Flyers, as of right now, are up 3-1 against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
They scored again.
They have a chance to go up against 3-0 against Pittsburgh. Um, just got a feel for Sidney Crosby and Malkin and those guys because they're like I was watching the game a little bit before we went on here. They really, really, um, I don't know what it is. I think the Flyers are a good team. They're coached very well. They have one of the best coaches, but you just got to feel for, the veterans like Crosby and Malkin because man, like they they grinded it out with this team. They stayed with this team. They continued to take hometown discounts to stay with this team to make another playoff appearance, and they have a chance of getting swept. But let's talk about Montreal Canadiens and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Last night on Tuesday, 30 penalty minutes in the first period in a gritty game, and in back-to-back overtime games. That might be the best series, and it's tied at one going to Montreal. That's my favorite series right now. Or the Buffalo Sabres and Boston Bruins. Sabres also losing 4-2 on Tuesday. And I gotta say, the reason why they lost their game is because Josh Allen was in the building. That's why the Sabres lost. Because they made a crazy comeback in game one. Boston played terrible. Swayman has been playing tremendous, but in game one, Boston on the offensive side played terrible. Three or four offensive turnovers in their offensive zone resulted in, you know, Buffalo winning and capitalizing with goals like from Tage Thompson with two. And Tage Thompson buried both of them. But that's like a little bit of NHL talks that come out for the next week or so. But I just want to highlight my favorite series, and that's the Montreal Canadiens, Tampa Bay Lightning. That series is going to go 7 games. Boston, Buffalo. Playoff hockey back in Buffalo has been tremendous to look at. But you know what I've realized? You know how everybody has their watch parties outside the arenas now?
Yeah.
Who is the first team to start that? There's no way it was the Toronto Maple Leafs to start that.
No, I don't know. It's probably out there.
Yeah, like right, you want to Google who was the first team to do that because I know it started getting really big recent time, right? But I remember when I was a kid, like 9 years ago, the Toronto Maple Leafs going up against the Washington Capitals, um, and watching that game outside, and I think it was Nazem Kadri scored the OT winner, and I almost got trampled. I was in grade 8. I was in the 8th grade. It was crazy. But outside of, at the time, it was called the Air Canada Center, now the Scotiabank Center. But that's always been on my mind. Who was the first team to do an outside watch party for the playoffs? Because it feels like it's getting busier and busier. Because I know the Leafs had, whatever they were called, Maple Leaf Square, and then Jurassic Park too. Jurassic Park was massive, and they're bringing that back for Game 3. Could you find it on Google or no?
Yeah, I did go on an adventure into the subverse known as Reddit for this answer, but it actually goes back pretty far. So I'm looking at
Well, like
uh
2010.
no, I'm looking at 2004. The Tampa
Damn.
Bay Lightning broadcast games outside apparently right next to the concourse that you exit onto from the arena is a huge wall of hold on, technical difficulties. Bear with me, folks. But I also
Bearing.
saw another one for the NBA. apparently there was a fan saying that they watched the Jazz back in '97 on a big screen outside the stadium,
So
but
this has been
in
around forever. It just got more popular as the years to come.
I'm
But
seeing the
playoff.
Senators have did it for the Cup run in 2007. Like,
Mm, yeah,
they,
right. Just uncultured. I'm just uncultured with the outside parties of sporting events because I'm
we're
so
not
concerned
privy.
what's going inside of the stadium. But playoff hockey back in Buffalo has been awesome, tremendous, and I'm just like, it's awesome. I don't know where all the fans came from because if everyone remembers, that barn was pretty empty when they sucked, and now they're good, and ticket prices are $500 USD. So. Now you can't go watch your favorite team play in Buffalo because Buffalo's good now. They were always the punching bag of the NHL for any other team wanted to go watch their team for cheap. Hopefully they become bad again, but honestly no. For the real part is for the Buffalo Sabres being back in the playoffs is tremendous. I was want to say 10 years old, 9 years old last time they were in the playoffs. Tremendous to watch. Electric feeling in Buffalo right now for them being back in the playoffs. And now they're going to Boston with their series tied. But I think it's time for we chat about the real stuff that everyone is tuning in to watch and what we're here to talk about. It's the NFL draft. The NFL draft is taking place tonight in Pittsburgh as the next NFL greats are going to be announced. Nick, we're going to talk about it. I know you did your top 15 mock draft, but first we're going to have to talk about a trade. A trade happened. A trade happened. The
What?
New York Giants are trading
Oh,
Dexter. Oh, you thought I was talking about real legit right now?
yeah. I thought you were talking about like a live trade. I'm like, what? Did you say if you saved this for right now, you have a future as a producer too. But my goodness. Oh, yeah. Okay. Talk about the stupid Dexter Lawrence trade.
Dexter Lawrence traded to the Cincinnati Bengals. He signed a 1 year contract extension, so he's going to be. So now his contract went from 2 years to 3 years. The Bengals gave up the 10th overall pick to the New York Giants. The New York Giants now have two top 10 picks, the fifth overall pick, and now the 10th overall pick. So this draft really shook up within the past week now. Okay, it shook up a lot because the Giants, well, they did their job. Dexter Lawrence didn't want to play there. This is a stacked defensive draft. You're like, all right, we're gonna go get somebody that's younger and probably gonna be more athletic than you because he had a half sack this year. He didn't even have a full sack this year. He didn't even register a full sack. He registered a half sack this past season, a career low. Hopefully that is a career low. Has to be a career low for him because Dexter Lawrence is usually really good. I gotta ask you this: you did a mock draft. You did a top 15 picks. Do you want to talk about that top 15? And do you have a screenshot of it? Because I can put it on the screen also.
Um, a screenshot ready to go. I don't know.
But do you have your top 15 list at least? I could just make a graphic.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, yeah, yeah. You just send me that later after this. But let's
yeah.
talk about your top 15. Who was your number one? I don't think you're going to shock the world here, and I think it's going to be Mendoza, right? You had that on your mock?
Yeah, it's gonna be Mendoza. I'm not gonna pull any tricks here, folks. So I got Mendoza going number one. I don't think I really have to talk about it. The guy's
No.
the best quarterback in the draft. Just led historically one of the worst programs in college football to their only undefeated season, and that concluded with a national championship. But this will be the first quarterback taken by the Raiders since they took Jamarcus Russell back in 2007,
And
and
what a failure that was.
we know how that went. Shout out LSU.
But I got to
Uh,
ask you this. I got to ask you this before we go into your second overall pick, because I think you're going to shock the world a little bit here because we were talking off camera. Who is your second overall pick? Is it Reese or is it David Bailey? Ooh, is it neither?
so it is not neither. But the chatter obviously this week was that David Bailey had generated a very strong interest from the Jets, and the Jets wanted to take David Bailey. And I think they're going to take Arvell Reese still. And it's been like since November, Arvell Reese has essentially been, viewed as the first defensive player who's going to go off the board. But then over the last few months, people started to look at the draft order as the season concluded. and they started to factor in what happened in the college season, looked at pro days, workouts, and things like that. And then David Bailey generated a lot of strong stock. And this always happens with drafts. I can remember back like a long time ago, back like 20, I think 18, 2017 or 2018, when Laramie Tunsil was going to be the number one pick out of Ole Miss.
And we all know what happened there.
We all know what happened there. I remember
One of the craziest draft day stories of all time.
I remember, and that happened on the draft day. I remember a couple of years back, in various months preceding the draft, Kayvon Thibodeau was supposed to be the number one
Yep.
guy. And then that chatter died down with still months remaining before the NFL draft. So I have Arvell Reese going. And the
So
Jets obviously need help in multiple places.
I
But
I
that,
know in your mock draft you have Reese, but like I gotta ask you this question though. Like I still have to ask you this question. We talked about it today. Who would you rather? Like I know you have Reese take like the Jets taking Reese, but who would you rather right now? David Bailey or Reese? Like what player would you rather have?
I would rather have David Bailey. I just think they're going to take Arvell Reese because, and this isn't me saying that the claims and rumors that have come out this week are false or whatever. I'm not going to say that because I don't know. I'm not going to speak on that. But I do think that if let's say they are interested in David Bailey, I think that they will revert back to what they had been thinking since November. Arvell Reese has always been viewed as a safe pick. And if he doesn't go number two to the New York Jets, somebody else is going to take him really high because they're
The
looking.
Cardinals will probably take him at number 3.
Yeah, probably because the Cardinals need help in various places too. But I think David Bailey is the better player. I just like the way that he rushes the passer. He's violent. He goes through the tackle or through whoever's guarding him. He doesn't like to play with finesse. He plays with power, and he has an incredible burst once he gets past his blocker to hit that second level and get after the quarterback. I haven't seen a lot like it. But I like David Bailey for those reasons and more.
And let's go back to your mock draft. Who do you have at number 3 then?
Number three, Arizona needs help with a lot of different things, but I have them taking what a lot of scouts and smart NFL people are saying they should do, and that's taking Francis Mauigoa. Um, He projects more as a guard than a tackle, and he played right tackle all throughout college. Very durable guy, started every game at Miami in the last 3 seasons. Um, but his feet are a bit, they're not as good as some others. Spencer Fano is viewed by a lot of people as the best offensive tackle in this draft, but Maui Goa played for Miami. He obviously played in the national championship and they're looking at his versatility as something that can be worked out. So I have them taking Maui Goa, but do not be surprised if they trade down. Arizona could easily trade down from the
They've been
spot.
in conversations or linked to with rumors swirling to the Dallas Cowboys at times.
I've seen the
Um,
Cowboys. I have seen the Saints
the
moving up.
Saints.
I've seen Kansas City moving up. Not maybe not to three, but I've seen
But
a little.
there's been a lot of conversations swirling around the Arizona Cardinals, but we do got to speed run this a little bit. At 4, who's your fourth bet? Who's the Tennessee Titans gonna take?
This is where it gets interesting because I think those first three picks, for the most part, weren't too surprising. Number four, I have Tennessee taking Sonny Styles.
I like that.
I don't think that Tennessee is going to do the thing that their fans want them to do, which is take the fun offensive player in Jeremiah Love. I think they're going to look at the roster and I think they're going to do something that is smart, which is taking a player not only who can play at various different positions. Like, guys, Sonny Styles can start as an edge rusher, a Sam, or a Mike linebacker in this
And
league.
we've said it here, Sonny Styles, him and Caleb Downs are the two most complete players in this draft defensively.
Yes. Yes. And Sonny Styles, he only missed two tackles in 2025. He's got great play recognition. He played some safety in high school, and you can see those traits come out when he drops back into coverage to guard those underneath routes and those various routes in the flats. So I have them taking Sonny Styles just because of all of the different ways that they can use him. And also because I think that they're looking, they have some new leadership, I think. I think they do, or I could
The
just be.
Tennessee Titans, I'm pretty sure they have a new owner.
Yeah, and they're going
Yeah, is it
through.
owner or is it GM? I'm pretty sure it's owner. Pretty sure they have someone new in the house over there
I don't think it's the
in
GM.
Tennessee.
It's still, yeah, it's Mike Borgonzi. So it's not a new owner, but it is.
GM?
Uh, yeah, it's a new head coach. So they do have a new head
Oh,
coach,
right. Yeah.
Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh. So there you go. You have a defensive-minded guy taking charge of the team. I think they take Sonny Styles number four.
Who do you have? The New York Giants. Just now, it's the New York Giants' first pick of
Yeah.
two in the top 10 at number five. Who do you have the New York Giants taking? And is this going to be a little bit shocker because you don't have Jeremiah Love going at four? I'm going to guess you have him going around somewhere around here. There's a lot of people talking about if Jeremiah Love falls to 2-5 to the Giants take him. Just hear me out here. Like that's not me saying. This is what the people are saying on the interweb, on the TV shows. Is that pairing up with Jeremiah Love and Cam Scatterboo that they're going to have the craziest one-two punch of young running backs. But who do you have the New York Giants taking at five?
Jeremiah Love.
Okay.
Because I think
All right. Sounds good. Yeah, there we go.
you set me up great there, brother, and that's why we are classically trained journalists.
Yeah, this is
But
we're
yeah,
top notch here, buddy.
they're we're top notch. I think Jeremiah Love is arguably the best prospect of this draft. I think running backs over the last few seasons, with the way they've been performing and the way they've been paid, have kind of reverted the trend that was incoming, where running backs were potentially soon going to drop out of the first round altogether. Um, I think this guy is hard to pass up on. Well, you're an Irish fan, but tell me if I'm wrong on any of these things. He's a very explosive running back.
Yep.
He's very athletic. He has a
Showed
tendency to
wait
go
first show those the what you first two things you just said there. Just go look at the Penn State game over and over and over. If you want to watch one game of what you
look
just
at the
said, Penn State game.
so the guy has great contact balance. He has a tendency to try to go up over a defender, but he more often than not lands it. It's kind of like his signature move. It's a hurdle. And I know that sounds like a weird thing to say for a football player to have a signature move, but yeah, this guy jumps over people and he's very explosive. He's fast. He hits that top gear that a lot of elite running backs do when they create separation down the field. They hit another gear. He definitely has that. He battles on every single carry. He's always falling forward with the ball. And he's a pretty damn good route runner, especially on vertical routes and routes that are deeper down the field. He takes care of the football, only fumbled once in 3 years with the Irish, in which he was their primary starter all throughout. This guy is a home run hitter, and I think he's going to be a Pro Bowler very early on, if not in his rookie season with the New York Giants. People who are saying, well, what about Cam Scatterboo? Well, does his bone popping out through his ankle not concern you? And the fact that he wasn't a first round running back already, like that's not me discounting running
But
backs
it's
not
also
taking in
not
the
a
first
bad like
round.
idea with having Jeremiah Love be the feature back, and then you guy have you have a knucklehead of a running back in Cam Scatterby that'll run through a wall with this crown as the number two back. Like that's your running back room is solidified for years to come, right? Like you would think.
You would think, and it definitely isn't now. With Cam Scatterboo is not your starting running back. He is not a guy who can physically hold up over an entire 18 game, 17 game season, whatever it is right now,
Oh, it's
playing.
going to turn to maybe 100 games soon.
Oh, it's going to. But playing the way he does, he will not be able to physically sustain his health. And so this is where this move becomes genius because if you still want to keep Scattaboo around, which they're going to do because not only is he a fan favorite, but using him in a supplemental role is going to be a lot better for him as a
Using
player.
Jeremiah Love as an explosive running back and then having Cam Scatterboo as the power back and a one-two
Yeah.
punch is going to make it very it can make it a very easy day for Jackson Dart under center. But we do got to move on. Let's go to the sixth overall pick, the Cleveland Browns. A lot of talent still on the board at the sixth spot. You have Carnell Tate. You got a fantastic amount of defenders. Who do you have the Cleveland Browns take it at six?
Well, I don't think Cleveland is too sold on anybody in this draft. So they're looking to trade down and they're fielding calls. But if they were to draft from six, which they could, they're also pretty live in the draft historically.
Do you have them selecting in your mock, or do you have them trading down in your mock?
I have them selecting Spencer Fano from Utah just because they need help all across the board, but they really need some help on the offensive line. And this guy is viewed by many, including myself, as the best all-around tackle in the draft. He's a very reliable player. He's going to be an immediate NFL starter, very violent blocker, and very quick on his feet as well. And he's smart with the way that he uses his hands. And obviously durable, started every game at Utah, playing in a very um, physical rushing offense. So that's who I have at six.
Who do you have the Washington Commanders taking at 7, or what do you have them doing at 7?
So in so many mock drafts, you're going to see Washington taking Sonny Styles, and that is just because Washington is anticipating him to fall, given the fact that Reese and Bailey are likely going to go above him. I have David Bailey going to the Washington Commanders, which would be a huge steal for them. It would be a golden like nugget that falls
It'll
into
be a golden ticket just in the laps of the Washington Commanders.
Yeah. And because they're not expecting him to fall that far. This guy, why would you not want this guy? He is such a good pass rusher. As I said before, he's very physical. He doesn't play with finesse, so he goes through you. He doesn't go around you, he goes through you as a blocker. His hands are great. He hits an extra gear when he sheds his block and a quarterback starts to take off. You almost see him get faster. He is a violent player. 14 and a half sacks last year. He had the most in Texas Tech history for a single season. It's all there. It's all there for you. The only thing that can cause trepidation is the fact that he was a transfer coming into Texas Tech and he only showed glimpses of that 14 and a half sack season at Stanford. So, if that causes some concern for you, fine. It doesn't cause any for me. I think David Bailey is a dog and is going to be an immediate go-getter at the edge position for the Washington Commanders.
Let's see who you have at 8 for the New Orleans Saints. A lot of heavy hitters still available. Caleb Downs for your mock is still available. Ruben Bain Jr. is still available. Carnell Tate, I'm pretty sure, is still available in your mock draft. Who do you have the Saints taking at 8?
I have them taking Tate. They have already gone the Ohio State route with Chris Olave, and obviously he has gone through some concussion issues, but I think for the most part they're satisfied with him. And Carnell Tate is viewed by some people as the best receiver in this draft, but just look at the way that he played, all the while never being a number one receiver in Ohio State's offense. He is a proven downfield threat. He had let's see, I have the stat right here. It's an insane stat. He was number two in the country with with 9 catches of 40 plus yards in 2025. So this guy is a very proficient 50-50 ball receiver. He is simply somebody that Ohio State would chuck it up to in scenarios and he would come down with the ball. He's very polished as a route runner as well. He's a tall guy. And I think that New Orleans is going to go with him just because of his unselfish qualities, never trying to be the focal point in the Ohio State offense, yet still being one of the best receivers in college football
And,
for
and,
his.
and that's perfect to be paired up with, another fantastic receiver that they have over there in New Orleans.
Yeah, and for Chris Olave, what he may lack in size, Carnell Tate makes up for it, and he's able to adjust. Go watch his highlight tape. You
And it's
see,
also a great insurance for the New Orleans Saints because, Chris Olave's concussion history concern that, obviously he played great this season. He was healthy this season, thankfully. But, the history, the concussion concern is still going to be there over his head for the rest of his career. So, a good insurance to have Carnell Tate.
absolutely. So, yeah, and one other thing I like about Tate is the way that he's able to really quickly make adjustments in his routes to create separation because you wouldn't see that necessarily from some receiver of his size. So something to look out for when watching him play on Sundays.
At the number 9 position, the Kansas City Chiefs, they had a pretty solid offseason, bringing in, I think, the heaviest hitter of a name of Super Bowl MVP of Kenneth Walker. Who do you have the Kansas City Chiefs taking at the ninth overall spot?
I have them taking Ruben Bain. I think Kansas City gets Ruben Bain, which is kind of a scary thing to think about because of the way that Kansas City, in particular Brett Veach, can transform this roster seemingly in one offseason using the draft. And Ruben Bain, the whole thing about him has been short arms, short arms, short arms, which is why he's probably going to fall down to the latter end of the top 10. But look at the way he's able to manipulate his body when going around defenders. The way he's able to dip his shoulder and go so low where his shoulder is almost grazing the turf and get underneath the arms of an enormous tackle and then use his great combination of power and speed to track down a quarterback. He was great for Miami. I think that he had a little bit of a favorable end to the season in terms of statistically speaking, because he did share the line with Akeem Mesidor, who's going to be
From
unfortunate.
Ottawa, Ontario, Ottawa native
Yeah,
Akeem Mesidor.
From Ottawa, who's probably going to go, likely going to go in the top 15 as well. So he was able to receive some favorable matchups in terms of blocking settings, but I have the Chiefs taking Ruben Bain, and I have him. I think he's immediately going to come in and contribute.
100%, especially with Patrick Mahomes also, recovering from injury, and hopefully he comes back, and the Kansas City Chiefs could be right back on track for another Super Bowl once Mahomes comes back from injury. Now, the second pick in the first round of the top 10 for the New York Giants, the 10th overall pick, who do you have them taking?
Well, they want to go receiver, and in this case, Jordan Tyson is available, so they would be able to take Jordan Tyson. But I have them going Caleb Downs.
Here,
And
Caleb Downs off the board at 10 to the Giants.
off the board at 10 to the Giants, and I think it is probably the smartest thing to do if he's there. This guy to me is like, man, like we talk about best prospect here and there. He might really be the best prospect in this draft, and he's a safety at a non-marquee position. So he's so smart. You can see the way that he dissects routes in real time and then is able, he has the physicality to then make those adjustments, flip his hips, and he has closing speed after making that real time adjustment in order to get down and track down a ball carrier or knock away a pass. He was simply sublime for Ohio State in 2 years with them, didn't miss a game, obviously was a national champion. Extremely high football IQ. Extremely high football IQ. He's
The
going to
best
walk
prospect
in.
of this draft, I have to say, him, Reese, Sonny Styles, David
Mhm.
Bailey, but I think Caleb Downs is going to top all those guys with IQ, with play. Just look at his college tape, man. Just look how he plays. Look how he speaks, man. He's a big
Yeah.
football guy, Caleb Downs, and I think if it's the reason why he's dropping in this draft, or if you want to go dropping, he's still a top 10 pick, is because he plays safety. All these teams above him have bigger gaps to fill. Linebackers, edge rushers, interior line, offense and defensive side, interior line. But we got to move on a little bit. The Miami Dolphins at 11, they have ginormous holes to fill all over the board. They brought in Malik Willis. He's going to be the starting quarterback. They also have $100 million in dead cap that they're taking on. But who do you have the Miami Dolphins grabbing at 11 to, let's say, be the first addition to the Miami Dolphins rebuild?
This to me is simply a preferential pick in terms of what Jeff Hafley is going to prefer as his inaugural draft pick as head coach of the Miami Dolphins. And defensively speaking, they are lacking in a lot of areas. So I think this is going to be a defensive pick. I think for the most part, this is a best pick available, um, a best player available type pick. So I think they're going to go Mansour Delane, cornerback at LSU. Uh, Guy's not too tall, but he is an alpha competitor. Again, a very smart player, reacts well to double moves. He anticipates them well. He's very good at reading the quarterback and even reading the quarterback's eyes, spacing himself so that he can bait the quarterback into throwing a pass that is, well, quite unfortunate to say the least. He's got great ball skills, very smooth with transitioning his hips, quick-footed, and his athleticism and just demeanor as a whole makes up for his size. So, guy had 18 pass deflections over 23 games at LSU. Holds up well in the run game with tackling running backs. Just a complete dog of a player. And I'm
He
already
brings a
starting.
unique style of versatility to the game. A high IQ corner. He's good at really ma making those quarterbacks throw into the tight spots just so he can have a pass breakup or interception. I think he's a high IQ player. He's going to be tremendous for the Miami Dolphins.
I agree. I think he's going to be tremendous. He's a plug and play player, in my opinion, for whoever takes him. Um,
I wouldn't
I
even be shocked if he goes earlier.
I don't think he goes before Caleb Downs.
Well, no, yeah, not before Caleb Downs, but I'm saying like I wouldn't even be shocked if Caleb Downs goes earlier either. You know what I mean? But I think just the high IQ corner, a lot of teams do lack that in the top 10. But yeah, like 11's the perfect spot for him. That more something's gonna shape up tomorrow, and something tragic is gonna happen tomorrow. But we do gotta keep on moving on. The Dallas Cowboys at the 12th overall pick, their first of two. We're only doing top 15, but their first two picks in the first round, they have 12 and 20. Who do you think my Dallas Cowboys are gonna take? Because there's reports. I was sending you a report too that a lot going into this week, it was McCoy. It was Jermon McCoy out of Tennessee. He was going to be the guy taken for the Dallas Cowboys, perfect for the Dallas Cowboys. But now there's cause of concern, and we said it a couple weeks ago, or I said it a couple weeks ago. The cause of concern is real with his knee injury, and then now, do you still think the Dallas Cowboys are going to take McCoy, or who do you have the Dallas Cowboys taking at 12?
No, I don't, because I think the report was something to do with him potentially needing another surgery really like sooner down the line. So instead I have them taking Keldrick Falk, edge rusher at Auburn. The thing about Keldrick is that look at me talking about him like I know him. It's that his 2024 tape, so the year before this past season, was so much better than what he did in 2025. He had a down year, but his 2024 tape was so good that you can justify him going just after the 10 spot in that range. He's a big and strong guy. He's got great power behind his hands. He's really good at reacting and dealing with various types of blocks like chips and all that. He's got good hands. The only thing about him is that he lacks intensity, and that was evident in this past season. So I have them going Keldrick Falk right now because I think they're definitely going to go defense. And then looking at this as a best player available type pick, you also have Akeem Mesidor as another option, which I think would be a really fun pick as well. But right now I have them going with Keldrick Falk.
I like that pick too a lot. Um, the 13th overall pick, the Los Angeles Rams had a pretty tremendous season. Losing though to the Seattle Seahawks in the conference championship game. But who do you have them taking at the 13th overall spot?
Makai Lemon.
Receiver, USC.
Yeah. And people might say, well, why not Jordan Tyson? Well, Jordan Tyson has dealt with some injuries in college. And the Rams have specifically expressed interest in Lemon, like specifically expressed it for a couple of months leading up to the draft. And he would just fit so well into what they need because he doesn't project as your wide receiver one or your outside dominant X. He is a slot guy. That's what he is. He's a slot guy, and he's a great route runner. Not a great athlete, but he is a gritty guy who can create separation. Tough player. He's got great hands. He won the Bolitnikoff Award this
Mhm.
past season as the best receiver in college football. So the proof is in the pudding. I mean, go turn on his tape. It's honestly like watching route running artistry, the way he creates separation. But he's very twitchy as well, which is what I like. And this just gives the Rams yet another scary weapon to go along with their already scary offense.
Yeah, him being paired up with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. Hopefully, Nacua can come back and, have his head on straight for training camp. But Mekhi Lyman being paired up with Adams and Nacua could be very scary, but it's going to be so awesome for this offense. And it's going to be so awesome for the veteran quarterback of Matthew Stafford. The 14th overall pick, the Baltimore Ravens. Who do you got them selecting?
Reinforced mainly by the fact that Tyler Linderbaum is now a Las Vegas Raider. I have them taking Vega Ioane, guard out of Penn State. The guy is just going to be a day one starter. He's a mauling, violent blocker. He's able to get up into a defensive tackle's face, create great separation, mainly a run blocker. And he's somebody that is going to be used and relied upon heavily and immediately in Baltimore.
Now, the 15th overall pick in the last in your mock draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selecting at 15. Who do you have them selecting, or who do you have them doing, or what do you have them doing?
This is the hard one. This is a hard one because there's some great picks available and there's some obvious picks available. And if any of you guys have been reading mock drafts, um, there's a lot of names that are being floated around. But I have them taking Jordan Tyson, but barely, and that's barely because I have them neglecting Kenyon Sadiq. But I think I think immediately Tampa Bay is looking towards a Mike Evans type of replacement. And Tyson is a great athlete with great body control, and he's able to go up and get those 50-50 balls. He's great at the top of vertical stem routes. I just think he's going to fit in well with Tampa Bay's offense. And given the fact that he's a really rangy player with great power as well as speed, who's able to hit that second level as well. Like he's not a quick player. He's not like he doesn't have that quick short level acceleration. But once you get him the ball in open space, then you see his speed and his acceleration start to hit. So I think Jordan Tyson goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that wraps up my top 15 for tonight's NFL draft.
That's your top 15. I honestly, I really like the way you're going. I really like that mock draft. But let's talk about this for a little bit. Hidden gems, not really hidden gems, but who do you like? It doesn't have to be hidden gems, but who's your favorite prospect overall outside of the first round? Like my favorite prospect in this draft, in the second round, third round, like depending on where he goes. Um, I think it's gonna be Anthony Hill Jr. out of Texas. I've been saying this to my friends. I go, whoever gets Anthony Hill Jr. is gonna win the draft, just because I think I've fallen in love with his tape. Of Anthony Hill Jr. at his time at Texas. That's my favorite overall prospect outside of the first round. He could squeeze into the first round near the end, or he's going to be a early second rounder, depending on, what happens with this draft. But Anthony Hill Jr. is my favorite. But who's yours mostly?
I'll give you three. How about that?
That's beautiful.
The first one I'll say is like iffy because he could very well go in the first because
Yeah,
just
yeah. It's all good.
Dylan Thieneman from safety from Oregon. Uh,
Terrific combine he had too.
Terrific combine he had. I will then give you Jacob Rodriguez, the
Yep.
linebacker from Texas
Texas
Tech.
Tech. Yep.
Great athlete, great tackler, great play recognition. Was able to,
I think
really.
he's going to go to the Buffalo Bills, Jacob Rodriguez.
Well, and I would love that as a Bills fan because, and to me, his best trait is his football IQ. Like the guy was truly their quarterback of the defense. And then the other one, which is he could also very well go in the first round, but I think he's just going to be like a highlight reel player, is Omar Cooper from Indiana, the wide receiver.
Yeah,
The guy who made
look what he did. Look what he did with Mendoza, man. He's
yeah,
played terrific. He was a terrific year, a terrific season yet. Especially, I'm pretty sure it was him that made that clutch catch against Penn State.
it was in the back of the end zone, the
Yeah,
tip-toe catch. There's other guys too that I like.
I think this draft is stacked defensively, and there's obviously some offensive sleepers. Like I'm a Notre Dame fan. Jadarian Price is also another terrific running back in this draft.
Yeah, Katron Allen from Penn State.
Yep, Keyshawn Allen,
We have also like Denzel Boston from Washington. I know you like him. Antoine Williams, I think, from
Antoine
Clemson.
Williams.
Juan Williams. There's so many players out there that are going to be because like this draft, we always say this. We always say this. Next year's draft is gonna be better. Next year's draft is gonna be better. But looking at this draft for what it is, this is the draft of edge rushers because we could potentially have three go in the top 10. I think we will. Bain, Reese, and Bailey. And we could very well have three Ohio State players go in the top 10 as
Hmm.
well, with Caleb Downs, Arvell Reese, and Sonny Styles.
This is a terrific defensive side of the ball
Terrific.
draft. Next year is a terrific offensive side of the ball draft, and I kind of like you like this right now. And I honestly think what makes for a better storyline is defensive players, man. The defensive players, like we're having this draft, and a little hint of, where's Jeremiah Love going to go in this draft offensively? Where's Jordan Tyson Carnell Tate going to go? Where's the offensive lineman going to go in this draft? This draft, I honestly think, like you just said, for what it is, it's a terrific draft class.
Yeah, go check out a guy called Zion Brown. He was an edge rusher from Missouri. That's a real sleeper if you wanna look at that. But also because I know we gotta end it off, right?
Hmm.
Shout out Taylor Elgersma, Winnipeg.
Taylor
Um,
Elgersma signing to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers officially. That stint in the UFL, it just didn't go to plan just because you're going to get a work visa, unfortunately. I was really excited to see how you would have done there, but he's finally signing with Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and he's going to learn so much over there, man.
oh yeah, can't
Behind
wait to
Zach
watch.
Collaros. Like, he is so lucky. That's a perfect situation. We've said it numerous times. I know I've said it publicly numerous times that I always thought, him just trying to stay in the game was a little bit foolish. And like staying in the on the American side because he has a great opportunity right here in Winnipeg to learn behind a CFL Hall of Fame quarterback in Zach Collaros. Because the NFL is always going to be there. He's young, he's strong, and he's talented. So the NFL is always going to be there. But you're not going to have a chance of having one-on-one time with a Hall of Fame quarterback like you do right now. So I think this is a perfect situation for Taylor Algersma to learn behind Zach Collaros. But I'm pumped up. I'm pumped up. It's draft
Oh
night.
yeah,
I'm pumped
crap.
up. Football is right around the corner. Tuesday is the CFL draft. I'm pumped up for that too. What else am I pumped up for? A lot of good sports are happening right now. Mike Malott, Niagara native, big win on UFC Winnipeg, beating Burns, knocking him out and making Gilbert Burns retire. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to a lot of people, and congratulations to everybody that will be drafted tonight in the NFL. You guys worked your whole entire lives for it, and especially Akeem Mesidor from Canada, Ottawa, Ontario. Congratulations to him to making his dream come true. It's a special night for these young players. And they're NFL stars of tomorrow. I'm Daniel Federico. That's Nick Tazio, and this has been the Daniel Federico Show.